And I'm particularly happy this week to have a good friend coming all the way from Shanghai to discuss with us a topic that is particularly relevant to the STL lab. As you know or may not know, the STL lab was established to propagate a particular idea. We are not a unit. We have no mandate or agenda. We have a very strong mission embedded in our lab, and that is to propagate socially responsible real estate entrepreneurship globally, with a particular focus on China. In China, even more important, we try to introduce the idea to young people who are living in or who live in the Midwestern part of China. We believe that it's very important for China to spread its resources from the coastal region, which is very well endowed, very developed, into the Midwestern part, which are less developed, and the balancing of the development trajectories of the two regions of China will be extremely important for the future of this country. And today, again, it is very, very lucky to have Professor Chen to come to educate us, really literally educate us, on several projects that she has personally engaged that can be qualified or quantified as socially responsible. And I am particularly excited to see whether some of the materials that Professor Chen is going to present may be part of the larger framework within which we can create with a Chinese partner to assess real estate project in China moving forward. Okay? Now, without any delay, let me introduce Professor Chen to you. You may or may not know. Let me get to the information. Professor Chen, Weizhen Chen Weizhen 教授, is a professor in the Department of Landscape Architecture in the College of Architecture and Planning at Tongji University. Sorry for those who come from Tsinghua or Beida. This is the best planning school in China, sorry. Instructed by the assistant director, because she is graduated from Tongji University, so I have to do that in front of you. Dr. Chen is on the committee of experts on sustainable development for the Ministry of Science and Technology. She is also the member of the committee of experts on green buildings for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development in China. Professor Chen, as I mentioned earlier, will introduce two contrasting cases to set the context of China real estate industry and show us various development typologies. Her talk will use the metaphors of two sides of a coin to evaluate the performance of recent China real estate development. And without any delay, I pass the stage to Professor Chen. Thank you.
Thank you. 我拿就好了，我就这样拿就好了。OK， 我拿下来。
谢谢。
Hello everyone. It's my honor to be here, and really thank you, Hong, invite me to be Boston. I think I should introduce myself a little more.
Sure. Because too brief.
Because the social responsibility is also a fresh word for me. It's not my research direction, but today you see my topic is the real and the imagined socially responsible real estate in China. So it's a challenge for me, but I told it just based on I have run a small company, design company for 20 years. So I'm very familiar with developer. And I also working in Moherd on 2008 for 1.5 years. So I think I also I can get what the central government or local government they really want. So I just begin my talking. The first is the context of China's real estate. There are some keywords. These keywords you will find in many papers in Western or in China. The first is tax distribution between the central and the local government. And the second is nationalization of land and the paid use of land. Because the land is belong to the state, so if anyone will developing a land, its use right to group or individual in a limited period of time. And the land user should submit payment for the land. Always, if a residential land always will be 70 years. If a commercial or cultural land will be 14 years. So the third is financing of land. Later there will be something in detail. And the entrepreneur government is also very important conception of China. So this diagram can show the tax distribution between the central and the local government. The land financing is very important resource for local government to develop. And there is two kinds. One is non-tax land revenue, and the other is land revenue. The non-tax revenue, I think, is just the money. If you if you rent your land, you can get. So the green color is belong to the local government, and the gray, the blue, is belong to the central government, and the purple, I think, it's about mortgage. Its mortgage means today we all know there is very high land debt in China today. It's just because of this part. So this in the left diagram, you can see the land financing is about Beijing. Just to take Beijing as an example, because from 2013, the percentage of the land financing of total state income has always been above 45%. And even though there are less completed transactions, the land financing is still increasing. And this reflects on the increasingly higher house price. And in 2015, Beijing's official revenue was 472.3 billion yuan, in which land revenue was about 203.2 billion yuan. It means almost halfly. So I think the land financing is very important for China's local government, for Beijing, for Shanghai, or for some third or second tier city is the same. And the right diagram, I think this data is come from People's Bank of China. And you see here, it shows nearly half of China's debt is related to real estate. So it composed of 4 parts. The one is household, and the second is real estate sector, and then the related sectors, and then the government. So just nearly also half of China's debt is related to real estate. So it's very, I think it's very, it's also an engine for Chinese economy, and it's also very fragile. Yeah, it's very also fragile. So this diagram I think it shows how the land operation model and why land capital is the key to entrepreneur government. Because you can see there is 5 steps. The first step is agricultural land or village land. It after demolish, then we'll go into the leveled land. The leveled land always we call the primary land development. This step is very important for China because local government can through this step to put her idea inside of this. So the right there, it shows the SOD and AOD. It's very special for China because SOD means service-oriented development and AOD means anticipation-oriented development. All these just done, maybe mainly done by government, local government. The aim is to attract a certain private capital or to just maybe a new local government will building a new new cultural center or move the local government building to a very rural district. It aims to attract capital, private capital. So AOD or SOD is very, I think, is very dominant China's real estate development. So it's the second step. And the third is when the land rights, return of property rights, or public land leasing or allocating. So after this, they will go into rural collective land. It's for just industrial land or for farmer housing land. It just means return of property rights. And the other will go into urban construction land. Urban construction land, it means it can be developed, it can be rent or something, it can about real estate. So the fourth go to the secondary development will go to the two directions. One direction, you know, there is also many state-owned property company, just like Shanghai Chentou Holding Ltd. Or Expert Shanghai Group or Greenland Group. It's all state-owned property company. It's a real estate corporate, but it's owned by government, local government or central government. So maybe sometimes in the secondary development, land will developed by all these company, and the other will go to the private capital, just like Vanke Group or Greenland Group, just like this. So this is the land capital. How can be the key to the entrepreneur government, because the government can control or can gain many power through the land operation. So here you can see the left and the right, there is 2 words. One is land urbanization, the other is population urbanization. But between these, there is a huge gap. It means land urbanization means local government rent or sell land, and the need is not maybe so rationally from the market. So maybe it can be overbuilt. So land has an incentive for new town development. So why there will so many empty city or ghost city? I think it's because of just a land urbanization without population urbanization. The population urbanization is because the hukou is a kind of barrier for the floating population to buy a house, or maybe they cannot afford it. So there is many floating population, they cannot become to be a new citizen. So there will be a huge gap between the urban land or the population urbanization. So the first point, I just want to show the context of the real estate, because it's closely about the land, about the entrepreneur, local government, and also about the land financing. So all this is about the context. The second point, I think, I would like to discuss the socially responsible real estate in China. So the first CSR, what is corporate social responsibility, just means the normal corporate. This is very popular or very hot in China. Every year, I think there will be so many different reports in different industry. They will write it, or they will invite some, they were done by some consulting company. And the second is the RICS. RICS is set by the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. So this means best practice in corporate social responsibility. And the index system will be launched in this year, in June. So we cannot see it now. And this index is especially in field of property industry. But I think China is very special, and I think this RICS maybe is not so suitable or not so not so suitable for China's socially responsible real estate evaluation. So there is before we introduce this top 100 Chinese responsible real estate corporation, I want to first give two perspectives. One is public perspective of real estate in China, because maybe media always give some overstate words, just like real estate industry is the ugliest industry, because they have windfall profit or land requisition covers, or some unaffordable housing price is due to real estate. And the right is that is the price of the house, how to climb up and how to increase in China. Because just in 2008, Shanghai and Beijing, the price of the house is nearly same as New York. So why the public perspective, in their perspective, the real estate is a little controversial. And the other is developer themselves, how they look themselves, or how they really done something. The done is what they do many charity, and always top 10. There will be certain people from real estate industry, and their donation is always mainly in education funds. Although the real estate industry is pillar industry in China, you can see there is very green, quickly green building development in China. This at most on some extent is due to the developer, because the most of green building is pushed by all these developers. So Chinese in past maybe 5 years or 7 years, there is so many, the sum of green building is increased so quickly. So they do something. They do some charity, and also they do many works about low carbon or eco. So this is from the developer's perspective. So there is a semi, I think maybe just can talk the semi-official evaluation system in China, which named the top 100 Chinese responsible real estate. This is run by China Construction News and MOHURD. MOHURD is Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development. So I think it's at least semi-officially. And in this system, there is 10 aspects and 100 index, such like the responsibility of the venture or contribution to the society, just like this. And this is the all these include just 5 or 6 different fields. You can see there is about something about energy saving, about environment, or about reducing emission, and also something about community. Community include also about the community culture, or community service, or environmental management. So this index, because there is 100 indicator, so it's gigantic. And I think maybe sometimes it's difficult to quantify, or maybe it sometimes will have not so clear value orientation, because you in a so integrated indicator system. So this is China, today's top 100 Chinese RRE. In 2015, the results I think just come out one month ago. The topic is about the craftsman's spirit, or the Series-CHEN enterprise. And the topic 10 company or corporate about include Vanke, or it also include Greenland and the Vanke, just like this. And the annual leader is from Country Garden, is Yang Guoqiang. So in the bottom there is 2 pictures. One is Greenland New York Brooklyn project, and the other is Country Garden Forest City in Malaysia. I think because of overseas investment today, more and more people know the some identity of all these Chinese real estate corporate. So maybe there is a little controversial. And after the context and after the discourse of real estate, so my hypothesis is the concept of social responsibility is broadly conceptualized and focus on physical and technology solution. Although the social and community is listed as one key indication category, its measurement is lost along the evaluation process. So this is my first hypothesis. And the second, my hypothesis is the construction of new urbanization under the new normal will be shifted from the physical construction to the spiritual construction. And more attention will be paid on people's livability and social cultural heritage. So I think just beside the 100 indicators, maybe there will be a core value or something can reflect the most needed perspective in today's China about social responsibility, real estate. So just under the new urbanization background, there is very obvious focusing on people and culture and quality of living And under a new normal situation, there is a transition to flexible adaptation to economic downturn and incubating social innovation. And also based on the community, there will be return of social functions and cultural consensus. So this is my two hypotheses. So because I think it's a so complex and so gigantic. I just want to focus on something to do some practice analysis. So I choose 3 cases to support my hypothesis. The ABC, just 3. The A is a new town development driven by private capital. From private capital drive the primary land to the secondary. If you still remember the former diagram, this means a private capital just do every work from the primary land developer to the secondary land development. This case is Liangzhu in Hangzhou, and the area is 6.7 square kilometer, and it's begin on 2003. So it's had passed some time. And the second case is new city making. Is the government driven primary land development, and then the private capital driven secondary land development. It's in Suzhou, Singapore Industrial Park. It's beginning on 1994, and it's more big scale. It's 278 square kilometer. And the third case is block scale urban renewal. This is just driven by the private capital, and it's in Nanchang, Xiangshan, Nanlu renew. It's a renew, and this case is just to be built, and a very small scales, just 10. So then we go to the first. The first is Liangzhu Cultural Village in Hangzhou. There is maybe 3 hours by car from Shanghai, the location, and maybe just 50 minutes by this location to the city center of Hangzhou. This is, and the village is designed in respect of nature and sustainable development. So half of the area is nature environment, you can see. And the natural mountain is mainly on the north and the west, and the south is the including some social including very different functional area will still ongoing build. So, and also on this project, they're including many social elites or young people or elder people. So it's a very combined or different person or some multiple function together is just like this. So also this biggest residential project of Vanke, and it always named unstandard. So this is the introduction, and this is written by a very famous writer. He say, "Here is a livable heaven never been seen in China." So here is very beautiful scenery, and I think why the Liangzhu village, cultural village, has become a dreamland for people to come. It's a very important element. So there is 3 different view to help us to see this project. One is morphology, and the other is anthropography and the economy. So we can see beyond all this, at the end, they get to the community governance and go to the community service, relation, and the community. There is also some community planner. So just to begin with methodology, there is very refined design of multi-function residential area. So there is compact and mixed use, and also pedestrian friendly, and also mixed use strategy for commercial and residential areas. And also there will some space for working and for job. So this is about the function. And the other, also they're very good placemaking. Placemaking, just like Meilizhou Church. This church was not only created for religious, but also involved all of the community members. So, and the other is Liangzhu. There has a culture museum. This culture museum has a very abundant collection of culture, of this area culture, because it's very long history. This direction has very long history. So the third, there will be, you can see there will very convenient public facility network, include culture, include sports, and includes commercial and medical and education. And so it's very good urban design, I think, urban design case from this point. And then morphology, also there includes some neighborhood public space, and also includes some informal landscape. And I cannot remember this project, because there is many very small block or many small lot. This is designed by I think American architect. So he do many interesting informal landscape in all this community. So at morphology, I think it's why this project can gain great success. I think it's part of reason. And the other, on the anthropographies, the left is the living environment of native villagers, and the right is the living environment of the new residents. So from the house owner to community member, all harmonious geographic relationships is built up. So they have very good security for native villagers, and also there is some social integration between native and new villagers. And then this is most interesting thing, because it's always done by the villager, by the new villager, because they just have this suggestion and it then go to the reality. There has been a profile and about daily life in this profile, and there will be community diversification or community of living in this Chenmin Gongyuan. So it's very unique in today's China, because the development or real estate about residential always just a physical or always just a gated community. There will not be so many interesting ideas just come out of the villager, come out of the local person. So just from the economy, they also have very vitality about the economy. This means you can see there is three steps of commercial. The one is public service just provided by real estate enterprise, just by the Vanke, and the 1/3 is run by branded retails and 1/3 by local villagers. So the public service is divided, is run very efficiently and run very healthy. So it also attract many young people to live there because they maybe can involved in some informal economic development. They can get a chance of job, or they can do some interesting thing, but just by themselves to gain money. So also there will be very good tourism. There is, I think, the hotel and the park and just the museum is very good to attract the tourists. So here, the picture, the photo is my PhD student. She definitely will working in Shanghai, but she buy her first apartment in her life in Liangzhu village. I think why young Chinese people choose to live here, I think maybe just a sense of belonging, of community attracted her. And they can enjoy the diversity of community life there, and they just also can by some 10 years cultivation of commercial industry. All these can help them to find their the vitality of economy. So also there it's a reason, maybe it's a main reason. So just after the first case, we can get there is community vitality indication in Liangzhu's case. There is some sense of community, there is some rise, active rise. Also there is some community service facilitation, and also there have some community planner just in the developer cooperators. So the community vitality is so important for the success of Liangzhu case. So this is the first case. And the other is just the Suzhou, China, Singapore Industrial Park. This project is a typical land operation from local government to private capital. This is this case. And it has very high quality planning and has strict function, and also some government-led urban development. So the high qualified planning, just in 1995, the government invited the best design team to do the planning at a very unbelievable price. And after 20 years, the planning has not been changed. So it always followed this planning. And the strict function zoning means the commercial area is center. This center is surrounded by some residential area on both sides. And then the spatial arrangement is strictly according to the proposed exercise. And the government-led urban development, it means its outstanding location or some flagship projects or large public investment in urban landscape construction are all led by local government. So the state capitalism is the open financial mode inherent from Singapore, which puts the state's assets into market. So this ensures the quality of the projects and help the raise value of surrounding lands, which pays back into government finance very good pay. So this is a picture I took at last year, Christmas Day, when I went there for field work. The rose flamingos are fake, not real, just some sculpture. And this viewpoint is from the main axis, which is most important landmark of Jingxi Lake District. This image is the dream of many decision makers. And I have heard more than once that authorities, local authorities, and social elites are trying to introduce similar projects for their city. So it's very interesting. And this, I just told the very high quality planning or strict functional zoning. And so you can see the left is very obvious. Take reference from Singapore, because the block there is almost a big block, because the distance from the road may be 1 kilometer. So it's a long distance for Suzhou, because Suzhou is a Jiangnan city. So the network is more 细密. Yeah, so in this map you can see the model is learned from Singapore. So at the end, from the private primary development or from the secondary development, they all gain very big success. Just the local government, as an entrepreneur government, they get very high land premium and also have successful land operation. And also from the sociability, the government do many good job, just like high quality social service facilities, or some affordable housing, or some middle class or high income class oriented housing. All this is done by, so there is different, they can meet all kinds of needs from different people. And there is some very good ecosystem and very good low traffic system also. And from the secondary development, the new town is have very reputation of happiness or some high occupation rate. So the diagram is the house price rate. So just in past 1 year, the price is just climb up twice. So it's very quickly speed. So here is a very attractive residential area, not for Suzhou person, also attract some Shanghainese to live there. So it's very, I think, at most time we can say it's a successful operation of land or successful project. And this is the Youzhu Fang. It means affordable housing. And you can say just a single bedroom, there is just 900 yuan per month per room. And we can see there is many the industrial area just beside the yellow. The yellow is residential, and the other is the industrial. If you are just a worker, blue collar worker, working here, you can gain 4,000 per month. So if the affordable housing just 900 per month, so you can have a maybe pretty good life. So I think from the government or from the private capital, they all do some good job. But there is some very important problem or question is existing here, because last year we do some field work there. They are satisfied with everything, but just they think, why in Suzhou, Singapore Industrial Park, why there is so many high quality residential area, but there is lack of vitality of here. And you can see this is a zoom in the Google map. Here is the community center. It's a building of how many? Of 120,000 square kilometers, and it's combined of complete functions such as retail, sport, culture, health, care, and education. So just in this road cross, it's a community center just developed by the local government. And the other area, just like this, is developed by the private capital. So this model is very is same as the Singapore, but you can see there is very serious traffic jam, because the community center just a one-stop service. It means the community center is centralized with other facility. All things is combined together, so it's one stop. And there is disappearance of retail shops on the street. So the street is very neat and there's lack of person. So the disappearance of retail shops on the streets make the urban atmosphere down, and the lack of vivid life activity. And all these, not because lack of public space, because there is very beautiful public space, such like a park or something, green belt along the lake shore. But there you cannot see so many persons there. So rather, it's the designed space which leads to a low usage of utility. So, and the traffic jam is also because if you just want to go a convenience store, you will drive. You cannot work. It's so strange. It's a little strange, because there are plenty of job opportunity, and this clean and tidy city is always turned into a huge and crowded places during commuting weekends, because the high level class from Suzhou historic area, they also will choose here to living. Maybe he working in the old city, so there will be a huge commuting, and moreover, huge road grid, just like public transport is not convenient, not so friendly. So you can see this is very beautiful area, but there is no one there. It's the lake shore. There is no one there. So I think just 3 days ago, there is a message on the WeChat, because there is the state council of PRC just launched a news. This news means they say China will promote new block or street structure in new residential area. Gated communities will no longer be built. We know just from 1980s, after Danwei, this model, residential model, the China is come to a gated community. Each real estate, each residential project is gated. But now, from the central government, it launched the new regulation on urban planning and construction. So the built residential areas and danwei housing will gradually be opened up. This means we'll convert internal roads to public streets to solve layout issue with the transportation networks and to promote efficient use of land. Here, he just say efficient use of land, but I know just in recent 1 year, many scholars write paper and do research about vitality, about China's street or about China's residential area. I think just in Suzhou Singapore Industrial Park, in this case, you can see everything is good, but just one thing wrong. One thing is there is one-stop community center and there is no street shops and there is very low utilization of the pedestrian. So all these will take in social responsibilities as a chance to create shared value, because local government and the developer will do some renewal work or will give out some guideline for new plot, for new developing, to guiding all these things will go to open. The gated will go to open. The more use of the street or to increase the vitality of the street. So this thing will ongoing do. And the third is the Xiangshan Road project in Nanchang. And I think you can see it's a very, it's just a third tier city in the west, not west, in the middle west of China, and it's undeveloped local economy. So it's a renewal project. On this project, each historical block has its own character and living experience. You can see from the picture, there is very historical architecture, very beautiful. And the fabric of the historical area, there is very, there is just maybe some fabric since Qing Dynasty, and the urban texture is even and fine, because the private property right and with urban renewal year by year, it became what we see in this picture now. So this is that area, just the same that area. This is a developer, this is developed by the Greenland corporate. So they do many work about how to protection and the retrofit of the historical buildings. And this is, I think it's, they always do that like this. But you can see there are also some questions we can ask, just like gentrification or reservation of the authenticity, or some innovation in here, how we can do. So it's in the Greenland Group's business model. They always say, look at themselves as the developer who know government the best. So they do something the local government won't do, but hard to do. And always they do super high-rise complex. And they always low cost and get very high premium. So, and also the model is copied from Shanghai Xintiandi. So the name is same, also Xintiandi, Nanchang Xintiandi. So this is the last question. A global toolkit for urban renewal. Developer and local governments share the value orientation keyword, just the profit or benefits or public image. And some local governments very welcome such change to make the urban space modern or fascinating or global. So they prefer safe or taking dramatic urban images. But is it right? Is it proper for a third-tier inland city such as Nanchang to use Shanghai Xintiandi as a model? And how to balance the aggressive development mode and the local context to avoid harmonious effect of global toolkit for urban renewal. So this is the question maybe for the lab. I think that's all, because I talk 3 cases. The first case is you can see the community value, you can see the vitality, and in the second you can see the China in the local government has the tradition, has the chance to change something. And at the end, from the private capital, I also think they need some innovation to help such kind of case to help them. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is a very exciting presentation. I know there's a lot of questions, but there's a class here in this corner of the room, so we have to be out, let's say, 5 minutes before 2. Can the team put it back in the same shape? Okay, good. Now, if you cannot ask Professor Chen questions, she will also be speaking tomorrow, Friday at 1 o'clock. There will be a lunch seminar for a small group of people, and I invite you all to come to exchange ideas with her. Now, but then we have still about 10 minutes. Please ask your question right now. And please state where you're from and your affiliation. Oh, so polite, no problem at all. Yes.
Yeah.
We don't know you.
I always have questions. I'll introduce myself as a good friend of Professor Chen. I really like your presentation. Give us a very tangible feeling of what the development look like in China on the ground. But my question is, you started with a broader structure of the urban land governance process, particularly the financing process. Then you gradually move towards more form-like design issues, vitality on the streets. So here, I know you try to establish a mapping between the two sides, yeah. But can you elaborate more on that? Say, for example, does the current land financing regime promote or to demote those type of models in China? Yeah. Does it help for the developer to cultivate this social responsibility or not? Yeah. If you see some downside, what do you see as a suggestion of transforming the land governance structure in order to promote more desirable development patterns?
You will think about another day to answer this question.
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah, I show a land operation model. I think it's the basic reason for why here will be 3 cases like this. Because entrepreneur government, I think is different from social responsible government. Because maybe in past 20 years, China is GDP leading. So the entrepreneur government, they will like amazing image, and they eager for capital. So, but the vitality, or just like you say, very 细碎的, very tiny things were not in their eyes. Maybe because it's just about people or just about the community. I always think one question is community is existing in China or not today. I'm not sure, because I living in a just a little expensive residential area. It's a project, it's very high quality, but I cannot nothing about belongings, because the physical you can do so good, but there is nothing about community, autonomy, or a community, how to say, culture. You cannot feel any kind of culture. So I think China has 意识到. Yeah. So I think because it's so difficult for real estate industry today, and there is so surplus of housing, they just can do more refined work to just give more new, give more opportunity for themselves. So I just think this.
Any other comments, questions? No, I think if not, then I speak again. I mean, I think that the most interesting aspect of the talk is the typologies that Professor Chen pointed out earlier. Is indeed China is very diverse in terms of local development, and this really educates me, or reaffirm my belief that policy solution has to be much more diverse, much more locally put into local context, otherwise it will not work. And this is a really great example of how different type of project can play out differently in the Chinese situation. My question to you, Professor Chen, should the desire of the communities, the government, and the business sectors have to be always in conflict? Is there a way we can align the interests in a way that we can promote this so-called or locally defined socially responsible real estate investment or entrepreneurship?
I think there is. I think it's a chance for China, because taking social responsibility definitely is a chance to create a shared value, just like a Suzhou project. Because he has got success.
Suzhou is the next one, right? The one.
Yeah.
But Singapore Suzhou.
Yeah.
But you point out a lot of problems with the project. The traffic jam.
Yeah, but they has decided to do some improvement, because they also know the local government is rich, and the price of house is very high, and the people is proud of living in Suzhou industrial park. But beside all these, they also know there is lack of vitality, lack of community here. It's different from Liangzhu project. So they also will have them try to do something. So I think it's very bottom vision. Yeah, just.
Very good. Maybe in this case, I double the difficulty of the questions again. How can we create shared value? If shared value is the key for finding overlapping interests of the key stakeholders, how can we capture that value that is shared and we magnify it in a way that we can do social responsibility?
Yeah. In normal thinking, we will think if a commercial is one stop, the government will have less risk management, and they will cut down the expenditure of city management. So we all can think of this. But if the gated will open, it's difficulty for local government and also for developer. But if they do this, maybe after a period of time, they will incubate more chance of local commercial. Just like today, they're just a community center. They're just a shopping mall just for the normal life. You buy some vegetable, you buy some very normal thing. But if you open, if you invest, or if you spend money or spend time to do something, they will maybe incubate the third place. The third place maybe will give more vitality of community commercial. I think the economy is followed by this, followed by the social responsibility, I think. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Joe?
Very interesting example and a nice framework up front regarding what are the issues, but it's somewhat mind-boggling in that there's so many possibilities for things to go wrong and so many considerations that it seems the plans are trying to take into account, trying to get some handle on that. In one sense, all of them seem to have dealt with this issue of social responsibility, entrepreneurship, by growing the scale of what the developer takes on. So instead of just being a housing developer or a shopping center developer, then you give them 270 square kilometers, in the case of Suzhou, and say develop an entire city. So that's sort of one approach to say, well, the people who are committing to the investment need to take on more than a limited amount of the built form. And that's one way of doing it, but then there are many ways to go wrong, and the gated community is an example. You can reduce risk if you could sort of isolate your clientele, serve them well, and not worry about the rest. So, it just seems like at each of the scales, there are many such possibilities for things to go well, but things to go badly. So, in thinking about that, it seemed, well, what are the constraints or the requirements or the measures, the sort of performance indicators that one might add to the developer program in order to push in a direction that moves from what otherwise would be narrowly profit maximizing. So for example here, town, in a way that gets negotiated with the courts, towns are able to basically tax developers if they can be explicit about the purpose and size of the impact fee. So if you want to build a 600-foot tower downtown in Boston, as is being discussed, then some percentage of the cost has to go to the city or to build a park and all. So that's sort of an example here of what's evolved over the years as one of many measures that try and constrain what a developer does in order to produce some community benefit. And what seems to be the case here is that it's being worked from the other end. So to here, the idea is you let the market work and then you tweak it a little bit through government. Whereas here it seems like there's a problem, so grow the scale of what's done at once in order to handle all the issues. Yeah, I wonder whether in the course of doing that, there is an effort to build more explicit measures or defined processes that constrain the way in which developers carry this out. Because that would be very different from what you showed up front, which is sort of a finance-driven approach to who gets to develop, which has lots of pluses and minuses, but very little around what has to be developed or what measures good development. So I guess my question is, are there along with these efforts, like this statement that you say here, you can no longer build gated communities, has there been an effort to develop constraints or impositions on the developers in order to take into account community vitality or social responsibility? Is that a change that's occurred over the last few years?
You have 1 minute to answer it.
可是我 很困惑，那个问题到底是什么？
有没有这个政府有没有什么有 restraint control 管理这个限制，政府有没有限制这个？比方你这个新加坡、苏州的项目，什么大块地，它怎么管理？怎么限制这个 developer 建这个情？你明白吗？明白。
不是很明白。
Okay. Joe, maybe we can talk about.
Maybe we talk
about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, very quickly. Next time, 2 weeks from now, is by Professor Weizhen from Tufts University. She will talk about financing urban infrastructure. So please put that in your calendar. And I hope to see you again 2 weeks from now. Bye bye.